America is not named after Amerigo Vespucci, but what nobody tells you is that that was not his name until 1505, because he was born Alberigo Vespucci. But when the world was split up between the Portuguese and the Spaniards, he came to America in terms of cutting off Brazil for the Portuguese. So Alberigo Vespucci changed his name to Amerigo. Now here we call this America, we don't even know it's named after.
What if I told you that America didn't get its name from Italian explorer Amerigo Vespucci? That's a conventional story that is told out there. That is what we've heard about in schools, at universities, textbooks, everywhere, the world over. Even for us in Africa, that is the story that we know. But is it possible that the true identity of America as we know it, the true identity of America has been hidden from Americans, from you, from the rest of the world all this time? Let's listen to this brother and come right back in, dissect this theory. Is there some truth in it?
Let me tell you something else about the word America. America, they tell you, is named after a Portuguese dilettante, explorer by the name of Amerigo Vespucci. But what nobody tells you is that that was not his name until 1505, because he was born Alberigo Vespucci. But when the world was split up between the Portuguese and the Spaniards, he came to America in terms of cutting off Brazil for the Portuguese. Alberigo Vespucci and Cristobal Colon were very good friends. And so Alberigo Vespucci comes down into Central America, and he comes upon a people that are called Amerisques. Amerisques. And these Amerisques are black, located in Nicaragua. You wonder why it's Nicaragua, black water. The evidence is right in front of us to see this. The Amerisques, these African original people, are living and thriving in a very natural environment, and so they look to, in their language, words that create concepts. And one of the concepts is, in Amerisques, it means, in the Mayan language, in the African language that the Mayans speak, it means that which brings wealth, what has been transferred to be gold. So, as you know, Africans say that Europeans have a disease that only gold can cure. So Alberigo Vespucci changed his name to Amerigo. Now here we call this America, we don't even know it's named after African Native Americans from Nicaragua. And the reason why I know this is because there was a sister that caught a YouTube, and by the way, Jan Carew, J-A-N-C-A-R-E-W, wrote a book titled Fulcrums of Change, page 109 to 113, will lay out this story as it relates to, that's why they call it the Mosquito Coast. It's a misnomer from Amerisques. And America is not named after Amerigo Vespucci, it's named after African Nicaraguan.
So this brother suggests that America derives its name from the Amerisques of Nicaragua. That would definitely need a lot more exploration. But one thing that is for sure, Christopher Columbus may be celebrated as the man who founded the New World. But this New World already existed. This New World already existed. So what was there to find? It's interesting that through the years, hundreds of years, the landing of Christopher Columbus on the shores of the US has been celebrated by Americans, and it's a huge part of the American culture.
Welcome to America!
I believe to the extent that he represents the initial arrival of Europeans, that can be celebrated. Italians can go gaga about it, as if this is a Serie A. I'm not much of a football fan, but all the same, that is America's business. But the seeming suppression of history, of the presence of African populations, is something that has got to be noted. One of the most famous stories is about the Mansa Kingdom in West Africa. One of the richest fellows ever. They already went on voyages across the Atlantic recorded in history. You will find that in texts that Africans were already out there. There was presence of African populations, African civilizations on the continent of America long before slavery. Because when the Europeans eventually got onto the American continent, they were perceived as conquerors. They came and overran these territories, and effectively they became colonies. Those are the realities. So we may have a huge chunk of African brothers and sisters out there who were born of slaves and gave birth to a new generation of Africans. You know what the Europeans later on would keep branding these political names. The N word is what has been used to describe those of chocolate complexion. And the word has changed over time. And today, what might seem as politically right is to use the term black. For us on the continent, we always think we are African. We are more chocolate than black. But whatever you want to call it, however you want to place guys, because obviously it's political, you want to place them in a box that you call black. The understanding of that clearly for us on the continent of Africa is that there seems to have been a narrative that has been carved, a ranking in society, largely by those who left the Western capitals, fleeing persecution from the lords and the kingdoms in Europe, found new places to settle, conquered those colonies, wiped out some of those communities, those societies that they found there. And America then was birthed to be this nation that bears the name America as we know it today. But the reality is that what has gone on in America all these years really is about who controls the resources. The superiority complex, the MAGA argument, make America great again, all revolves around this, and it's a curated narrative. Yet, the vast majority of those who are on the continent of America today, and certainly the United States, came there as immigrants, economic immigrants, whatever you want to call it, people fleeing persecution. That includes President Donald J. Trump, whose own grandfather immigrated to the US in the late 1800s, almost 1890. That's not so long ago. President Trump is almost 80 years old. By the way, I can show you Trump's ancestral home, right here. Where is that? In Germany, once referred to as the Kingdom of Bavaria. But Donald Trump is now the one man who's busy saying illegal immigrants need to go back. Who is illegal in America today?
Crossing the Sahara in search of a better life. These migrants are bound for Europe. And this is where the long road begins, in the desert of Niger, several days' drive from the Libyan border.
It is the same thing that has happened with human migrations across Africa today. Some of them trying to find, greener pastures in the West. The North, whether it's Britain, whether it's America, whether it's Canada. It's just history repeating itself. Except now, Africans themselves, the elite of Africa, are the ones who are engaging in this persecution of their own populations, who are finding it difficult to stay home and are seeking new opportunities out there in the West. And at any rate, the world is now a global village. Hard truths, but certainly something that is worth further investigation. What is the true identity of America? Please share in the comments. What do you know? What can you tell us? And if you are a professor of history, maybe you can shed some light on this channel. Would much appreciate your input. But I think we need to get to the bottom of this. Brothers and sisters who are out there, Africans, those of African descent, I think we owe a duty to ourselves to unearth our history that has been suppressed over time. We need to do that for ourselves and for our future generation. We need to step up to the plate, man, and be counted. Own our spaces. Rewrite history. Because what has happened over time is that those who conquered new territories, what they did was to destroy the history, the memory, the wealth of generations that were obviously mostly oral, barely written, but at least if you look at some of the civilizations like the Olmec in Mexico, there are artifacts, there are carvings, there are sculptures that tell of a civilization that existed long before Columbus came, long before America was birthed, the America that we know today. But it is up to us to tell our story, to own our spaces. Make sure we are hard, write that history. The challenge of erasing that is very evident. Look at those Africans who went as slaves. You are beaten to a pulp to forget your African name. One man that I always remember, Kojo, who honestly would have made it back to Africa if anybody cared, if the American government at that time cared to bring the brother back. He wanted to do that. He didn't make it back. The Dahomey Empire, where he came from, could have done that. This man lived up to modern time. When travel was starting to get easier, it could have been possible. But those of us who are left, those who are alive today, what are we doing about our history to ensure that it does not disappear? We are not written off the books. We are not written off planet Earth. It is your business, it is my business. I'm just happy that on this channel, Afrocentric, we celebrate Africa, we celebrate African diaspora, wherever you are on planet Earth. We believe it's our business to extend that brother. So I hope you can also extend that brotherhood. And if this resonates with you, subscribe, certainly like and share, so that we figure out really where did the storm, not even the rain, where did the storm beat us? Our brothers and sisters went through the harsh storms of the Atlantic Ocean, navigating those waters to go to the west. Travel is better today. Life is a lot easier today. Brutal life that was the scenario back then has changed. But I agree that America, in a certain way, still is very difficult for brothers and sisters who are out there, even other Western capitals. But there's something you can do about it today. So let's do it. Many thanks for watching, and we see you on the other side. Please check out the next video. This is Afrocentric. We'll see you again.